Oh, the red light's on. All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast. I think we're on episode 175. At least that's what the show note says.
We're talking. Sorry, Bruce. We're just talking about that. Ryan, I don't think posted his episode this weekend, so it may be 174. We'll see who gets to it first. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. We'll see who gets there first. So it could be 174. It could be 175. We don't know.
If you would have showed up on time, Bruce, you would have known.
Hey, we could get into that on the air.
No.
Let's stick to the script here, Bruce.
Okay. There's a script.
I don't know. Let's just stay on cue. How's that?
All right. Fantasy preview for week 23 for the week starting March 18th, which would be tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of our Irish friends out there.
Absolutely. I have a green water bottle.
I had a green beer.
We're not recording the video, so I guess it really doesn't matter.
No, but I had a green beer, and I mean St. Patrick's Day used to mean a lot more. I think when we were all younger.
10 years
it did
ago
for me
today.
anyway.
10 years ago today, I was in Mexico right now. So
there you go.
Usually a green beer, usually then to skin color green the next morning. It's usually how it turned out in most of the events I attended anyway. Most of them were green the next day.
We can blame it on the green beer, Bruce, but the fact is it's probably the 18 beers is more likely what did it.
For me, it was the tequila and the lime.
Yeah, there you go.
That was usually why I was green the next day. There was way too much tequila and way too much lime. Oh, it was rough. It was rough. Anyway, podcast. Yes. I totally lost my train of thought after that. Just remembering how I felt the next morning after that. So, all right, let's move on. Let's get right into John's list because John's got something on the list, and then I got something to add after that as a thing to the list. So, for John's list here, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you'll be undoubtedly familiar with Miss John's list. John's shit list of players, past and present. Throw in the occasional commissioner, GM, coach, or newsworthy topic from around the league, from around the hockey world. And John, who is our contestant this evening?
Our contestant this evening is Patrice Bergeron. He's the newest member of the list. Reason being, he's part of that Bruins squad that nobody likes. Well, anybody but Boston. People from Boston, but. Nobody on that team really. No, that's it.
We know Vancouver wasn't a big fan of that team.
I don't care about people from Vancouver either, though.
Jeez.
Sorry, I don't care about the Canucks. People are fine.
Yeah. I actually was cheering for the Bruins in 2011. I was not in favor, and the reason why it had nothing to do with the fans, had nothing to do with the team overall, but it was some of the players on that team. Like, I still to this day am not a fan of Ryan Kessler. I mean, it's so funny because Bieksa, nobody liked Kevin Bieksa, but now he's on Hockey Night in Canada, and I actually think he's fantastic. When I listen to him on the broadcast, he's probably my favorite analyst on that panel right now. And which is so funny because there was so much hate for that guy when he played in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's the only one on the panel with a personality.
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Or at least
doesn't leave you with a whole lot, but
yeah.
Who else was on that? There was anyway. It doesn't matter. There was 2 or 3 guys I really didn't like, and my respect for the Sedin twins wasn't quite there yet at that point. Like looking back, I'm like they were phenomenal, but I just wasn't a fan either. So
I don't like them.
Yeah, but so I can hear what you're saying, except for I did cheer for the Bruins in 2011, and I still have a ton of respect for Patrice. Love the player.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's fine. This is why John's list is so controversial.
He's not flashy enough for me. He just isn't. No.
That's okay. That's all right.
You needed to have Roberto Luongo back there, I guess.
Oh, gross.
Hey, funniest goalie on Twitter.
Oh, God.
I will say that.
I am very curious to hear, Bruce. What do you got for the list this week? Because you said you got something else you wanted to chip in here with.
Yeah, so my contribution to the list is the Oilers game last night, or at least the last half second of the game anyway. Dear God, how could you not play to the freaking buzzer? Like, if I'm Bouchard, I'm burying McKinnon in the corner, like, and he just let him go. Like, he literally just let him skate in front of him. Like, I would have done something. Like, the buzzer hadn't gone yet. And Draisaitl backtracking was a little light for, I don't know, they just gave up that there was no, oh, we're just going to go to a shootout. And McKinnon goes, nope. It's like,
Well, was
That's
it
why I don't
Lehkonen
like
that
either of
scored?
them.
Right? Was it like
Lehkonen,
McKinnon made the
yeah,
pass in the
so-
corner, right?
yeah, McKinnon made basically the Hail Mary backhand pass, and Lehkonen just goes blink and just goes in. And it's Draisaitl and Bouchard didn't even know what freaking happened until he turned around.
Yeah.
Well, it happened so
Like,
quick. It was just bang,
That
bang.
was
And
bang, bang, right? Like, it's, and like, how do you not tie your guy? Like, buzzer hasn't gone yet. Like,
That's why I don't like both of those players. I'll be honest. To me, they both seem lazy.
I think, you know what? Bouchard's had that MO though since he's come into the league, and it's kind of just the way he plays. He played like that in junior too. I don't think that's that he's lazy so much. He just
I think mostly if you watch the way game, there wasn't a whole lot of physicality in the game. So, and Bouchard isn't known as a physical guy, but at least if you're going to go into the corner like that, do something so that he can't do that. Bouchard basically let him go into the corner untouched.
he was probably a little tentative too because it is Nathan McKinnon, right? So
Right, because he's afraid McKinnon's going to cut back on him, right? And
go to the nets, and he doesn't want to, so like I get some of that.
But he was in a horrible position for that because he was literally like McKinnon puts on the brakes and Bouchard goes right by him. Like he wasn't in great position for that either.
Yeah. To be honest, Bruce, I watched that game last night and it got a little chippy towards the end. I thought it was like, of course, Sean Walker would score 2 goals against the Oilers, right? Like just to rub it in every Edmonton Oilers fan's face. And for someone like me, it was like I just griped about this last week, but to sit there and watch the Colorado Avalanche kind of just walk over the Edmonton Oilers a little bit, like it was a good game, right? I don't want to get too down on it, but they outshot them pretty significantly, right? And I never really felt like we had that game in hand. Like we finally got a lead late in the third, but we didn't hold on to it for very long, right? And
no, they were chasing Colorado for a good chunk of that game.
And I really thought it was important for the Oilers mentally to get a win there, just to know that, you know what, we can still beat these guys because they haven't had a ton of success against them lately, and they got a little better here after the trade deadline. So,
and that's even more so why the last half second or ticked me off so much because it's like, boys, like you are that close to like, and you just, and that is where you talk about championship teams and non-championship teams is in a spot just like that because they played to the buzzer and the Oilers didn't. They gave up with half a second left thinking, oh, we're going to go to a shootout.
And Arturi Lehkonen is the bane of our existence because he was the guy that clinched
He's
the
been a
Western
fantastic
Conference final.
Pickup for Colorado when they got him from Montreal. Fantastic pickup.
Excellent acquisition. But again, this is what just drives me absolutely insane, Bruce, is that we've got teams like Colorado and real legitimate Stanley Cup contending teams going out and making smart acquisitions like that at the deadline and players that are really going to make a difference come playoff time and at certain points in the regular season. Even like Sean Walker, right? Like, he's not Erik Karlsson, right?
No,
he's not Brent Burns from 10 years ago. He's not going to score 2 goals every game. But the point is, you added that guy to your third pairing, and he can maybe move up in your second pairing. And now Vinny Desharnais takes a fight with Josh Manson, breaks his finger, and so now what are we stuck with? We're stuck with Troy Stecher starting on the second pairing or the third pairing. Like it's just the Edmonton Oilers don't learn, and that's for me what's going to be their downfall is that they couldn't make the changes when they had to, and now you've got guys like McDavid and Draisaitl going, they can't help themselves, so why would I help them, right? And the last thing I'll say on this, Bruce, is had Nuge scored on that breakaway opportunity, because that was right at the end of the third period too.
Glorious, but
right, brilliant pass from Draisaitl, and if he buries that, we're having a different conversation. And he probably should have buried it. He had all day. He had so much time, and he really didn't make a great effort on the play, in my opinion. Now, I'm not an NHL player, but I'm just...
Georgiev was in perfect position for that.
Like, anyway, he's got such a great shot. I'm surprised
the Claude Giroux just wind up and just clap it right at him. It's like, holy shit, from 10 feet, he's going to do that? Give him a bruise. Like,
Nuge just got such a great release, right? He's got a great wrist shot. Like, why are you trying to go forehand, backhand, and put it between his legs or whatever he's trying to do? Like, just take a good wrist shot like you generally do and the game's probably over.
Yeah.
But
I think I said it earlier in the season. I said I think the Oilers were done when they signed Corey Perry. That was their forward addition without subtraction, because I mentioned last week they had no cap space. Like they would have had to, and obviously Holland or Jackson as per se had no stomach to move out a whole bunch of stuff to try and get more done. They were very happy to just do what they did and move on, right?
yeah.
So we'll see if it's a first round exit. Holland will be shown the door very, very quickly. It'll all be put on his shoulders, and everyone will just go, "Oh yeah, it was his fault," and then we'll move on. And then,
well, he's gone anyway, Bruce. Right? His contract's up at the end of the season. Like
I can't see him. I can't see him coming back. I really can't.
No, like he's done. It's all but officially been. Like with the introduction of Jeff Jackson, we just know that that's the new guy, right?
He's probably already sitting at home. He's probably not even in the office anymore, because basically once trade deadline day was over, he's basically done anyway.
He was done the day before even. So anyway, we've spent so much time on that, Bruce. But
we killed that already. So it's
yeah.
But
you know what? Otherwise, good game last night. It
was a great game. Like I get to go see the next one live. So
yeah.
I will be in person the next time Colorado is in town. So it's going to be great to watch live.
I had very low expectations for the end result there, so that was good that they at least squeaked out a point.
Yes. Please.
Well, Bruce, who you got on the fantasy lock of the week for us this week?
Excuse me, that was a half cough, half yawn. Good thing we didn't catch that. Fantasy lock of the week. We got two on there tonight, since they're seamlessly tied at the hip, and they only did this in 2 games, so this is pretty impressive. So for fantasy lock of the week this week, I have Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Kucherov is left wing, I hope, and Braden Point is center. They are rostered basically everywhere. Kucherov and Point had themselves a week. They only played 2 games, but made the most of it. They combined for 13 points, 5 goals, 8 assists in 2 games last week. 2 power play points between them. Actually, they were just a few seconds off. They both averaged just over 18 minutes a night over the 2 games, and it was just under 4 minutes on the power play between the 2 of them as well over the course of those 2 games. So that is quite a feat. And then we got, for honorable mention, I have Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers. He put up 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists in 5 games, and he had 2 power play points included in that as well. And that is our fantasy lock of the week. We move on now to Edge Work for NHL schedule for week 23. This is the segment where we put in the work to give you the edge for your fantasy hockey leagues. Each week, the Hacks will cover the NHL schedule, waiver wire targets that guide you to victory. Some things you need to know for welcome to week 23. For most leagues, this is the last week of the regular fantasy season. Next week, most likely, for most leagues anyway, it'll be the start of the playoffs. This week, there's a total of 74 games. 74. Oh boy, that'd be a fun, wouldn't it? 54 games on the slate this week. 4 full days this week: Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and 3 late days. Late days are where 50% or fewer teams in action. In terms of, God, did I type that? In terms of attempting to optimize the schedule for games played, 12 teams play 4 games this week. The Toronto Maple Leafs are one of the teams that play 4 games, but their 4 games consist of 2 back-to-backs. Beginning of the week and the end of the week. 4 teams play 2 or more games on late days this week. Washington plays 3 games on late days. Arizona, Dallas, and Seattle play 2 of their games this week on late days. There are 5 sets of back-to-backs on Saturday and Sunday this week. So there's 10 teams in action, 5 sets of back-to-backs. No teams to fade this week, as no team plays less than 3 games. So just a quick recap here. 2 games on Monday. Tuesday has 13. Wednesday has 3. Thursday has 11. Friday has 4. Saturday has 11 games. And Sunday has 10. And then in the notes here, we've got listed which teams play 4 games and which teams play 3 games this week. We will now move on to the waiver wire targets here for week 23, even though I didn't change the number on that. Waiver wire targets will be focused on players that are rostered in roughly 50% or less of Yahoo leagues. When considering players to target, we review recent performance, player development, and upcoming schedule, and more. And first guy on the list here is one of my least favorite players in the NHL. That's why John's going to talk about him.
Oh, you would. All right, first guy we got up here is new center for Carolina, Evgeny Kuznetsov. Rostered 14% Yahoo, 38% Fantrax. 4 games this week: the Islanders, Philly, Washington, and Toronto. Playing on that second line with Jake Gensel and Martin Necas, and also getting some power play 1 time. Kuznetsov clearly needed change of scenery, but he could have been put into a better situation centering newly acquired Jake Gensel and Martin Necas there, while also holding that spot on the top power play. Took a few games for him to get going, but the former Cap now has a goal and assist in his last 2 outings, along with 7 shots on goal while averaging roughly 17 minutes per game. With the Canes playing 4 games next week, 2 of which are on off nights, he is definitely worth taking a chance on heading down the final stretch of the season here.
And I should add to that, John. I was just looking at his stats, and he's got 4 points. He had 2 more points tonight, a goal and an assist. So he's got 4 points, 2 goals in his last 3 games. So he's really coming on here.
Very nice. Did I miss something when I was doing the schedule? Carolina only has 1 game on off nights next week.
What?
Just Friday.
Did you make a liar out of me?
Just Friday. Sunday's considered a full night because there's more than half teams playing.
Yeah, I did some notes here, Bruce. I guess what I was getting at is off nights being typically nights where, traditionally, right? So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday are typically considered off nights.
Yeah.
Not light days, but off nights.
I did my notes on my cell phone, so I was just making sure I didn't miss something.
No, not at all. No, so that's, and because talking about the Capitals too, you're right, they do play technically 3 light days, but all 4 of their games are on off nights, right? So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. But
True Hacks fashion.
Fashion.
Well, the back-to-backs make it the only reason why it's from a light day to a full day. That's pretty much the reason.
And it's borderline, right? Like you've got 10 games versus
so you're
the
just
8.
You're just a shade over, right?
Exactly.
All right. Next guy on the list here is Mr. Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes. Rostered 29% in Yahoo, 68% in Fantrax. Coyotes have 3 games this week. They are on the road to Dallas and then at home to Seattle and Dallas again. He's playing on line 1 with Nick Bukestad and Clayton Keller. So Schmaltz has taken a step back in offense this season. 61-point pace. It's still nothing to sneeze at. I still like him. Following a 3-assist game versus the Devils on Saturday, Schmaltz maintains a scorching pace that has seen him post 16 points, 5 goals in his last 12 games played. That's the ticket. Not a great schedule this week with 2 matchups against Dallas, but you'll have to look hard to find reasons not to roster this player for the upcoming week and into the playoffs. That's why I drafted him late. And, well, I hung on to him in 1 league. In the other league, I dropped him. Promptly got picked up by somebody else. So,
yeah, he's been to him. Pretty consistent the last couple of seasons. I was going to mention, too, Nick Bukestad playing on that top line with him. He's looked pretty good. He's got 5 points in his last 5 games. Getting lots of minutes. So interesting they're putting him in that position. What did he play? 20 minutes. That was on Friday, I believe. 20 minutes before that. Getting some power play time. Shot volume looks pretty good. Putting in some blocks and hits. So maybe in a deeper format, you'd look at Nick Bukestad, but he's another guy that may want to consider if Nick Schmaltz isn't an option.
And they really had to put their lines in a blender, right? That losing streak wasn't fun for them, and they were trying just about anything to try and find a way to score or to keep a puck out of their own net.
Yeah, they've got a lot of great young prospects, but again, we've talked about this in the past. You can't put those guys in really prominent roles until they're ready. So a guy like Bukestad as a veteran player is going to get some more ice time than he typically would.
Yeah, exactly. Devon, you want to cover the next guy?
Sure. I feel like we talk about this guy all the time, but Jake DeBrusk, left wing, right wing eligible for the Boston Bruins, rostered in 38% of Yahoo leagues, 56% in Fantrax. 3 games on the upcoming schedule: Ottawa, the Rangers, and the Flyers. He is playing on that second line with Brad Marchand and Charlie Coyle, as well as on the top power play unit. He's making another appearance on our waiver wire list after a 2-point outing against the Flyers on Saturday. He has racked up 9 points and 4 goals in his last 7 games. He's also averaged 3 shots on goal per game and just over 1 hit per game. He is on power play 1 according to Daily Faceoff, but if you look at his actual numbers, it looks like he's getting more of that power play 2 deployment. It's kind of a 50% power play share, but take it for what it's worth. I do like the shot rate and the overall production and the line mates and then dual eligibility. So definitely worth a look, in my opinion, for next week.
Definitely. I'd still like to see him be an Oiler. I don't know, just something for me.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I think, he's no worse than a number of guys in our top 9.
No, very true. I think the father-son thing too, that would be just kind of...
Oh yeah, Louis would love that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wouldn't we all? All right, where's Tyler when you need him? We got a flame here. We should have Tyler talk about him, but he's not here. So.
Yeah, you love that.
So I guess I'll talk about him then. Igor Sharangovich, who's been a very popular one. He's been on this list number of times over the course of the season. Still rostered 46% in Yahoo, 59 in Fantrax. Flames have 3 games this week: Washington, at Vancouver, and then home to Buffalo. He's moved down to he's down to the 3rd line now with Matt Coronado and Dryden Hunt. Still has a spot on power play 1, which is nice. Igor has been a welcome surprise here for the Flames, already setting a new career high in goals with 28. He's on pace for 35. That'd be nice. And points with 50, 61-point pace. Try eligibility in Yahoo, which is fantastic. And a role on the top power play unit makes Sharangovich another appealing option for the remainder of the season. 14 points, 8 goals in his last 12 games played. 19% is a bit inflated and likely leads to a slowdown in goal scoring. Yikes! Got to get my eyes checked. He's been a very nice surprise, right? For
that trade worked out great for Calgary, right?
Absolutely.
You look at Toffoli, and then Toffoli's in Winnipeg now, right? So not that it went bad for him in New Jersey by any stretch, right? I just Sharangovich is a guy that it's worked out really well for them. So if he can be a consistent 30 goal scorer for them, that's a great trade. That's a great.
That's a big win. Big win for them. I know. John wants to talk about the next guy.
I was just going to say John has to because it's one of the few players he actually likes.
Exactly.
Are you sure? I'm just kidding. Absolutely. Next guy we got on here is Jordan Eberle, right wing Seattle. Rostered 32% Yahoo, 37% Fantrax. 4 games this week, which is the big one: Buffalo, Vegas, Arizona, and Montreal. Playing on that first line with Matty Beniers and Thomas Tatar, and also getting that power play 1 time as well. It would have been nice to see him back in an Oilers jersey, but not to be. Jordan Eberle is having himself a solid season so far. He's got 37 points and 14 goals in 62 games. Despite going cold over the last week in those last 4 games, this upcoming schedule is really what shines through for him. With 3 games taking place on off nights and against non-playoff teams. And with that deployment there, top line, top power play, it's just more reasons to grab him this week. It's looking good, suitable for him.
Big shout out for Jordan Eberle. Congratulations to him on 1,000 games played in the NHL.
Definitely.
I think we all would have really liked to have seen that take place in an Edmonton Oilers uniform, but wasn't meant to be. It wasn't, that first playoff run with Edmonton really didn't go that well for him. So,
no.
But he seems to have turned that around. He's been a productive player in the playoffs since, and it's really too bad that we couldn't have worked out a deal to get him in Edmonton for one more playoff run, because I think he would have been a nice contribution, a nice piece for Edmonton down the stretch. But that's okay.
Yeah.
No, definitely playing in the Islanders in that series against Tampa Bay. Oh boy, like that was
You
wow.
know what?
Yeah, that
I
was
think going to the island was maybe exactly what he needed to go and just learn from
playing in
some
that system, right? That
yeah.
was that system, and they had some battles during the time he was there in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
he took it
Yeah.
with look at Seattle last year, and
No, it rounded out his game, right? I think it was a good
yeah,
thing.
no, most definitely. Last one we got on here is TJ Oshie. Just one goal in 4 games since returning from injury. But great deployment, line one, power play one, offers some category coverage and an excellent upcoming schedule, most definitely, as long as he doesn't get injured again in practice. Whatever. I don't know, he tripped over the blue line. I don't know what happened, but he
I
did
don't
skate
know.
in his was his 1000th game too, wasn't it, on Saturday?
I think so.
Good question.
I think he celebrated 1,000 too.
Yep, I think so.
Well, and James Van Riemsdyk also just celebrated his 1000th game.
Yeah.
So
Very
there's a
cool.
couple guys. It's funny. It doesn't happen all the time, but now it just feels like recently that's everyone's playing 1,000 games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got one.
I was going to say Oshie's played 1,001 games, and so has Jordan Eberle. So
There you go. Nice. I got one more player to put on here. Some player that's kind of caught my eye here the past couple of weeks. They got a crappy schedule this week, but this might be for the super deep league plays. But Alex Nylander, since his trade to Columbus, has been doing some wonderful things. Last week here, he's got 4 points in 4 games. I think he is, where did they? Oh, I had 1 second here. Because they had him playing. Where is Columbus here? I had this all open beforehand. So they got him playing on the top line with Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau right now. He's got a spot too on the top power play unit. He's playing on the left side. Like, he's got great deployment. It's just that Columbus has got one game here at the beginning of the week, and then they don't play again until Saturday, Sunday with back-to-backs. But if you're in a deep league and you're looking for some player to add, he might be the one, because he's only rostered. What is it? 3%? It wasn't a whole heck of a lot.
it says 0 right now on Frozen Tools. It says 0 in Fantrax and Yahoo.
Yeah,
but
like he's not rostered very high at all. But
and all of his points, Bruce, have come in the last 10 games.
Well, been since his trade, basically.
He's at 11 points. His first was it 2 games. First 2 games in Columbus, he didn't do anything, but they weren't giving him much for deployment either. And now they've. It almost makes you wonder if they're just trying to like up his value, but. Because they
it
gave
could
him,
very well be, right? Because he got he got the hat trick, was the first, I think the first one, and then it just went from there, right?
That was his third. Well, so that was his 5th game, I think. In so he went 2 games without any points. Then he had a 2-point game. Then he had a 1-point game. Then his hat trick, and then it was scoreless. Then a goal. Then 2 games without anything. Then a goal, and then a 3-point game against San Jose. So. Yeah, he's looked really good, Bruce. That's a good one. That's someone who's available pretty much everywhere and getting nice deployment and who's been productive.
Yeah. So okay, I'm just logging into Yahoo right now, and it says he is now up to 15%. So it says here it's gone up 12% just today alone. So yeah, he was basically at 3% yesterday afternoon, and he's he's
great.
been so. Great deployments, and if he's going to keep putting up points, they may just keep him there. So if you're in a deep league and you need someone to add, check out Mr. Nylander. All right, let's move on to defensemen. First defenseman on the list here is Cam York, Philadelphia Flyers. He's rostered 11% here in Yahoo, 53% in Fantrax. Philly's got 4 games. Home to Toronto, on the road to Carolina, home to Boston and Florida. Dear God, that's not going to be fun. The Flyers have a tough schedule next week, but York finds himself in the midst of a particularly productive stretch. 9 points and 3 goals in his last 10 games played. Over that stretch, York has averaged 1.5 hits per game, 3.5 blocks per game, a penalty minute per game. That's an interesting feat. Roughly 24 minutes time on ice, and a 48% power play share. Really hard to argue with that type of production and an upcoming 4-game week. No kidding. Tyler O'Siri would have just added him.
He would have. Yeah, he would have been all over that. I think this is great. It's a nice pickup. The category coverage is good. And he's going to he's going to face a ton of shots. So he'll be blocking pucks against Toronto, Carolina, Boston, and Philly. So
hopefully he won't snap his ankle.
No, but if he doesn't, I mean, he's probably going to get you 4 blocks a game. So that's some nice category coverage. And then
absolutely,
yeah, he'll be spending a lot of time in the defensive zone, I'm sure. So he'll be tossing hits around and hopefully maybe putting up some points too.
Hopefully, right?
Hopefully, maybe.
So I like that one. That's a good option.
Good. John wants to talk about our next contestant. I know he does.
Yes. Next year we have Jake Sanderson, D-man with the Ottawa Senators, rostered 54% Yahoo, 88% Fantrax. 4 games this week: Boston, St. Louis, New Jersey, and Edmonton on that number 1 pairing with Artem Zub, and getting some power play one time as well. It's been a train wreck of a season for the Senators, but Jake Sanderson, personally, it's been fairly encouraging with 31 points and 8 goals in 63 games. Sanderson plays massive minutes on the top pairing in that power play unit and can contribute in a number of categories. Shots on goal, blocks, power play points, with 4 points and 1 goal in his last 5 games played. He's he's a bright spot there in that Ottawa team that's abysmal.
And of course, Bruce, the Fantrax guys got it right. 88% rostered in Fantrax. So
yeah, all those dynasty guys will want to hang on to him for sure.
Yeah, I mean he's 54% in Yahoo last I checked, but it's tough at this time of year to find some good fantasy D-men to talk about. But here we go.
Yeah, we're getting close to the bottom of the barrel. We haven't scraped it a few times already. All right, Devon, you want to talk about our next contestant?
Not really, but I will.
No,
No, I think honestly it's just because he's put up no points here recently. So Rasmus Sandin, 14% rostered in Yahoo, 50% in Fantrax. But again, great schedule for the Washington Capitals, which you already talked about with Oshie. And so line 2, or on the second pairing, he's playing with Nick Jensen, and on power play 2. They've got a nice schedule, as I said. They play all 4 games on off nights, or 3 of them on light days, and kind of that 4th one. It's going to be against some tough competition. And really, it's just the schedule and then some decent category coverage. So he's got just under 1 hit per game and 1.5 blocks per game over his last 10. And really just looking to maximize games played for the upcoming week. There is potential for points. Obviously, he's been a strong option at times this season, but he's got a little bit cold here lately. So it's one of those ones I'd maybe be a little bit hesitant to grab right away. But if you're desperate, if you're in a deep league, this might be good to look at.
Deep leagues and off nights. That's a good combination there.
It sounds like a 80s soundtrack or something.
No doubt. All right, that does it for defensemen. Let's move on to goaltending. And since John hates the Vancouver Canucks, he can talk about our first contestant as the goaltenders tonight.
Yay.
Nice.
First sending we got on here is Casey DeSmith with Vancouver, rostered 38% in Yahoo, 38% in Fantrax as well. They have 3 games this week: Buffalo, Montreal, and Calgary. It is no secret that Thatcher Demko is week to week, and based on current standings, Vancouver Canucks are top 3 team in the NHL. If you're in need of goaltending, go grab Casey DeSmith. 2.56 goals against average and a .908 save percentage in his last 3 appearances, and the fantasy-friendly schedule next week. It's looking decent for him for the week coming up here.
I grabbed him in our Yahoo League as my 3rd goaltender, hoping I can have I didn't do that well this week. Devon obliterated me. What can I say? Did he even check your roster this week?
I don't know if I did, Bruce. I'll be honest. I set it. Like I try to set it most days, but it's yeah.
It was over already on Monday. You had like a 50-point lead after Monday, and it never my team never caught up. It just couldn't.
I look at my roster, both of them in Yahoo, and I feel like I have pretty strong rosters, but I just had no luck this year for whatever reason. So that's okay. But you know what? I grabbed Casey DeSmith in our ESPN League too, Bruce. I think just for anyone looking for goaltender help, he's a nice option. And Demko, I think they're going to be really careful with him, right? Like they don't want to push him back too soon. They need him for the playoffs. So it's very possible that DeSmith, he takes over until there's maybe a week or two left in the season.
They needed that injury to happen a week previous to that so they could have used his cap space.
They sure did. But you know what? I respect the hell out of them for not doing that.
Devon, you want to take our next goaltender?
Sure. I feel like I've talked about all the Capitals, so why not? I'll talk about the last one on this list, Charlie Lindgren. We actually talked about him last week too, but I just felt like with this schedule, Calgary, Toronto, Carolina, and Winnipeg on off nights, I mean, for the same reasons we talked about Oshie and Sandin, you got to consider Charlie Lindgren. But during the month of March, he has posted a 4-2-0 record along with a 1.73 goals against average, a 938 save percentage, a 6.62 goals saved above expected, and 1 shutout. There are no back-to-backs in that schedule, so it's conceivable, though unlikely, that Lindgren gets 4 starts and faces a ton of shots. This is a real boomer bust pick again this week, but I do like him, and he's 40% rostered in Yahoo last I checked, so still available in 60% of Yahoo leagues. And again, another rehash, Bruce, UPL. We just talked with him last week, but he's been so good. I thought, let's just throw him on the list here again this week. If he's still available, 66% rostered in Yahoo, so chances are you're not going to find him on your waiver wire. But if he's there, I think you have to grab him at this point because Buffalo, that playoff push in the East, it's really intriguing right now. There's actually a handful of teams that could, dethrone Tampa and some of these other teams, right? So,
yeah, you look at you got Buffalo, you got the Islanders are in there. Washington's somewhat in the mix there too. It's going to get real interesting. I don't know if the West will get that interesting, but the East will be interesting.
Yeah, like even Buffalo has 65 points, and they don't have games in hand, but they're they're only 7 points back of a playoff spot right now.
Yeah,
I mean that's a big gap to make up. But if you're Washington, like you said, 69 points, they're right there.
Yeah, it's
gonna be a fun end to the season.
Exactly. That loser point makes everything interesting.
I wish we could do away with it because you look at some of these standings and it's just outrageous with the loser points. But
where's Boston if you take the loser points away?
I haven't looked at their schedule. Wow, that's 15 points, hey Bruce?
Yeah.
So you take 91 points away, and all of a sudden, holy moly!
If you take
LA, you take 11 points away from LA.
if you take 11 points, yikes! They're down at
all of a sudden
68 points, so they're yikes.
Same with Vegas. You take 7 points away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If Boston drops to 80 points, they would still they'd be in the Leaf spot basically.
It's looking more and more like Vegas is going to make the playoffs, right? They're 6 points up on Minnesota for that last wildcard spot. I've never cheered so hard for the Calgary Flames in my life. But when they beat Vegas the other night, that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like they're going to close things up there. So for those of us wishing that the Vegas Golden Knights would just miss the playoffs, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Well, if they could just lose out and, St. Louis and Minnesota could just pick up the pace a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Calgary can stay where they are. Although Calgary's in an intriguing situation right now, right? Markstrom's out hurt again. Dustin Wolf has looked fantastic in the 2 games that he's played since his last call-up here.
Yep.
It's like, okay, are they going to consider themselves, now that they're 8 points back, are they going to consider themselves out? So are they going to let Markstrom rest his injury and run with Wolf and see how things go? So it could be very interesting to see there too, because could very well be an addition for next season, right? Vladar could be on the way out next season, and I don't know. Or they trade Markstrom. Then
no, they're going to trade Markstrom. It's they had that deal in place, right, to New Jersey, and of course, ownership being as stupid as they are, decided that we're going to kibosh that trade.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense because Markstrom, I think he was prepared to leave. They were going to get some assets for him. They've got the goalie of the future here in Dustin Wolf. Dan Vladar is a journeyman goaltender capable of handling the load if he
Backup
needs
duties,
to,
right?
or
Yeah.
backup duties, right? So
Yeah.
I don't understand why, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen at the draft this summer. They're going to get rid of Markstrom. They'll get some assets for him. They'll
I
move
think
on.
they have to. I don't think they can. I don't think they can smooth that one over. He didn't. For him to come out and say it, take a shot at him publicly like that, I don't think that's. I don't think they can recover from that.
But I can't. Can you
think they'll
blame
have to.
Markstrom for being upset? Right? It's like they.
No, not one bit. It's like, hey, we're going to move you, and then, oh, sorry, yeah, we're not going to move you now.
Sorry, yeah, ownership kiboshed the trade, so you're gonna have to stick around.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, like he knows that the Dustin Wolf's the guy of the future too, and
Yeah.
so and actually that's another great pickup, Bruce. Because I'm just looking at his numbers here.
The Calgary
do?
schedule's a little wonky this week, right? They got one. I think they've got a game here on Monday, and then they don't play till the weekend.
But he's led in a grand total of 3 goals in 3 appearances. Like, albeit the one was just in a relief appearance, but still, a 947 and 966 save percentage his last 2 starts. He's been great.
Yeah, and their defense in front, right? They lost Tanev, they lost Hanifin. They got that monster from Vegas in the trade there too. So he could be another deep defenseman pick. He scored another goal here Saturday night.
But that's the problem with Calgary, right? It's like they'll never truly commit to the rebuild, even though they should, because this time of year they'll trade away assets, and they're still.
They can't really, right? You're stuck with Uyghur. They might be able to trade. I don't think they can trade Huberdeau. I don't think that contract's tradable.
No, but you can still start rebuilding. Like, you don't have to trade all your players away, but I mean, so Huberdeau probably not tradable or movable, right? Unless you retain a bunch of salary, but Uyghur's absolutely movable if you decided you want to move on from that player. But I agree with something Ryan said when he was on the show a few weeks ago. Is like, why wouldn't they blow things up, get all the assets they can? Because they had a ton of players that had a lot of value, and they've missed opportunities here. But they should be blowing it up and trying to be competitive when that new arena is finished in a few years. Like, not right now. They're just a middling team, and they have been for a long time. So,
yeah, they just do enough to be. They're good enough to not get a great draft pick, but they're bad enough to not really do anything, right?
Or just make the playoffs and lose in the first round. But it's like, oh, we're getting that playoff revenue in the first rounds, right? So anyway, it's just it's frustrating to watch, but
no, definitely. And that's that was all on the notes that I've got. Is you guys either
that's
other
it?
players?
No, that's all I got, Bruce. I like the couple of wild cards you threw in there with Alex Nylander and Dustin Wolf tonight, so that was good.
All right. That's it for the show, everybody. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, or X as it's called now, at FH Hacks, and on Instagram at Fantasy Hockey Hacks. Don't forget to check out our live show, Hacks Hangout, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Time on EdmontonSportsTalk.com and on YouTube.com/Heavy Hockey. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, Felicia.
Take care, guys.